Okay, so people are asking me, you were around in the 80s when the AIDS virus and HIV were all causing epidemic proportions of fear and reactivity and challenge for the local medical community, the dying community, and certainly there was a very similar kind of atmospheric fear that was around at that time. And we had responded with the Spiritual Healing Center, teaching people how to work with fear, but work with meditation, work with yoga, work with dying. There was a lot of folks back then who were dying, and there was a lot of doctors who needed support around that time who were working with the dying, and because they were trained to try to somehow beat death. And so it was a very difficult time, and we were able to respond in a way that was also reminiscent of when I first came to Canada with my brothers and sisters, and all hell broke loose again. Again, another environmental disaster. My mom and dad had split up. My dad had a nervous breakdown. There was affairs. It got worse. There was abuse. There was mental health issues. There was rape. There was financial issues. There was divorce. We ran into the ground, literally, and dug out the ground so we could create these artificial bunkers to hide in for all the noise and the chaos that was going on. And so here we are another time and another but a bigger pandemic proportions. And there's two things going on here that I would love to talk about. And one is that we are dealing with a virus that is very, in our face, and it's starting to spread like crazy. And then the other thing is we have fear. And both of those things collided can create a Molotov cocktail of, everybody bolting down and creating, it's an excuse to really, get into our bunkers and start throwing stuff at the other camp and other people, and really start to live a very isolated and most contaminated vision of life. But I want to say to you that there is the other option. This is an opportunity on a very deeper level, and this is what happened back when I was 10, and then when I was 25, we had to respond to these disasters that were going on. We bandied together. It became an opportunity for the true human being to stand up and really respond instead of react, and contain the fear, and be able to work with doing what we need to do on Channel 1. Might be a good way to think about it. Channel 1 is that this is a virus. Here it is. We've got to work with it. It is spreading. And there's a lot of smart and intelligent and good information that's coming out. And there's a lot of opportunity for us who have trauma or fear in our background to really kind of collapse around this and really bolt ourselves down and isolate and start to look at the real negative side of things. And but on Channel 2, there's this collateral beauty that can happen. And that is the true human being stands up and starts to lead and says, no, we can either, work in a fearful way, or we can stand up and lean in, do what we need to do for the village, for our family, for ourselves, and start to stand up and get on top of our own fear so that we can approach the village and approach our lives and our livelihood and everything that we do with a level of compassion and service and a way for us to bring our best foot forward, a way for us to be a true human being. So it's a perfect storm for us to collapse, or it's a perfect storm for us to really step out and into our deep community, deep village, within ourselves and outside ourselves. We can't really be in charge of the spread of that virus, as personally, but our governments and our institutions and our organizations are doing their best. But what we can be on top of is our own fear, and put an end to or dial down the fear of us being so freaked out that we collapse and isolate and start to point fingers and start to make judgments and start to curl up, basically. And so it's a very real thing that can happen. On the other hand, fear can be a response to us to stand up and get alert and put our shoulders out and open up our hearts and really, okay, so let's tackle this as best we can. Wisdom is what works. Wisdom is what works when we're dealing with the virus and washing our hands and being smart about building our immune system. Best way to keep a tree healthy is to keep feeding it with sunlight and nutrients and keeping it healthy, so when the bugs come, there's not a lot for that to feed on, right? Because our constitution is healthy. For those that are weak and challenged, we need to obviously be healthy enough to serve them. And that's what we did, and that's what I'm encouraging all of us to do with all your questions to me around how did that work? How did that happen? How did you guys respond? How did you do it? That's the best thing I can say. You need to go inside to get on top of your fear. You need to make sure that you're the rainmaker. A rainmaker comes to a drought-infested valley where, NASA and all the engineers from around the world can't get the weather changed. The rainmaker was sent for. She came in. She needed a hut. She needed 3 days. She needed a cup of tea. And she just needed to get herself in that hut for 3 days. At the end of those 3 days, of course, the rains came. Everybody was celebrating, and the kids were running through the fields, and the sprouts were coming up. And they were just thinking that this woman's a god. She's a goddess. But the truth is, when they asked her what she did, she says, "Look, I'm not in charge of what happens on the outside. What I am in charge of is making sure that if I'm feeling out of order and out of my integrity and out of my synchronicity of body, mind, soul alignment, I need to get on top of that." And so that is what I did when I jumped into the hut for 3 days. I got on top of my game, and what happened after that is not up to me. The Rainmaker and other great wisdom stories are a fantastic way to survive some of these challenges, and I've been talking to people all day long about these stories that have come from the unconscious. They've been around for thousands of years. They'll be around for other thousands of years to come, and some things that are available on my website if that makes sense for you. I'm going to make the Rainmaker and the Impossible Dream, which is about a spell that comes over a village like a virus and the fear coming over a village, and how these people respond. It's a great story and lots of wisdom in it. I want to make those available for you. Please email, let me know if you're interested, and I will get those out to you so that you too can access some of that wisdom that allows us to work through these turbulent, unsecure times and worrisome times. I hope that makes sense. Please get back to me if you have any questions about this, but these are the things that I thought I would share at the very get-go here in response to this very difficult time that we're in, these uncertain times. Bye for now.